I told the Bears they need to take care of business, and what did they do? They just took care of business. This is Locked On Baylor live postgame.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another Locked On Baylor live postgame. I'm crooked here. Something's wrong with my box. Sorry about that. Bears convincing win over Oregon State. Now I got to fix everything. Over Oregon State, 88-72. Very close to that 86-70. Beating a team from the Pacific Northwest. Not to be this time, but it does. Great segue here. Does remind me of how good that 2021 team was. I know. I hear you screaming at your screen right now. Does that mean they're going to win the national championship? No, they're not as talented, but the most talented they've been since 2021, and deep too. This is a good team. This is a good team, y'all. And they played an Oregon State squad, which is bad, really bad. But after an 8-day layoff and the travel that goes with it, they looked in the face of a tournament with 2 games in 3 days. They came out from the jump and dominated them. Just dominated them. And I know our pal Fran Fraschilla wanted to tell us, basically the whole second half wanted to tell us how bad Baylor was tonight, which is not true. First time that he said, I don't think Baylor's quite even playing their best, but they're still playing really well. I was like, yeah, Fran, you're right, because they aren't playing their very best, but that's okay because they're playing really, really well. And then he just kept saying it and saying it and saying it. I'm like, okay, dude, shut up. Like, they're not playing bad right now. They had some holes in there. They had some stretches that weren't terrific. They were just kind of throwing the ball around, but they just dominated a Power 5 team from top to bottom. And that's kind of the point I was getting at, was they weren't at 100% tonight, firing on all cylinders, but they still dominated. These freshmen, man, are the best that Baylor has ever had. They have not had 2 freshmen in the same class as good as these guys. I'm telling you, man. And the only one that would have come close was 2 years ago with Sohan and Kendall Brown. And Kendall Brown was not a huge contributor to that team. Sohan ends up becoming a top 10 pick. These are 2 guys who could legitimately be lottery picks. Jacoby Walter, Yves Missi. And just dominated tonight. Jacoby leads all scorers. I think this was his best game, even better than that debut when he poured in whatever it was, 28 points against Auburn. He was just the game was just slowed down for him tonight, man. I mean, he was in control from the go. It's kind of what I was saying about Dre'Ana Edwards and their win against Harvard the other day on the ladies' side, but he just knew where to go with it every time. And so he finishes 7 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 8 from 3, and 6 of 6 from the line. That's pretty darn good. 24 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists in 30 minutes, and 4 steals. The kid does everything. He does everything. And at the risk of sounding like Fran Fraschilla again, he's so right on this one. Jacoby doesn't need to be a 30-point-a-night kind of guy, and he won't be. He has that ability, sure. And against some teams, he can probably do it in his sleep. But he is such a complete player. Such a complete player. The way he drives and kicks, the way he doesn't turn the ball over, the way he knows exactly when he's in a spot, I got to shoot, and knows when to put it on the floor. The basketball IQ is off the charts, man. Off the charts. And it's also pretty good for the other one, Yves Missi, which I was surprised to see it come around this quickly. This is a kid who's he's only played basketball, I think it's 4 or 5 years now. But he is totally in it, man. 25 minutes. I said you're going to start to see him creep towards that 30-minute a game kind of log, because that's what he is demanding with his play right now. How about his first double-double? 14 points, 14 rebounds. Yes. Oh, man. Scott Drew has never had a big guy like this, bro. He has never had a big guy who can do just everything like this kid can. 6 offensive rebounds in 25 minutes. He's so good. He's so good, man. Oh, brother. And this team is so good. I mean, it's even growing on the defensive end, which is so fun to watch. The thing that I kind of kept an eye on was how they were going to cover Jordan Pope. That was the only guy coming into this game for Oregon State that could really hurt you, maybe even beat you. They had him in hell tonight. They had him in hell, especially in the first half. He ends up getting 13 points. He averages about 21 a game. Okay, ends up with 13 and shooting 5 of 15 from the floor in 37 minutes. More turnovers than assists. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. This team can D it up. And I just want to go through. I am just noticing this feature on the StatCast is I can look at every time Jordan Pope was on the score sheet tonight. And I'm laughing because they even have one that says turnover, bad pass. So they can get subjective with it too. So here are his touches in the first half. Missed jumper, missed three-pointer, defensive rebound, missed jumper, turnover, three-point make, missed layup, defensive rebound, missed three-pointer, turnover, bad pass, missed three-pointer, block, assist, sub out, sub in, turnover, bad pass, assist, missed three-pointer, assist. So all his assists in the first half, missed three-pointer, rebound, good layup, turnover. This kid was just not in it tonight. I'll just keep going. Where are we at? Missed three-pointer, assist, missed three-pointer, rebound, good layup, turnover, two good layups, turnover, missed jumper, good layup, good free throw, missed jumper, sub out. That's his night right there. Their best player. That's what he was able to put out there for you. Another thing that shows me the defense, Oregon State gets to 72 points. And what the StatCast will do is it'll give you these current trends, whether a team's on a run or they made a certain amount of shots in a row, or they haven't scored in a while. Baylor made their last 3 field goals. Oregon State made 7 of their last 8. 7 of their last 8 shots from the floor against the second team got them to 72 points. This defense is going to shut teams down at some point. It's not there yet, but the defensive potential of this team is off the charts and would be as good as they were in 2021 and then the next year in 2022. Such a night and day difference, I think, especially when you look at the final numbers after the season of 2023 versus 2024. Really excited for that. They've got to play another game on Friday that's going to be against either Pitt or Florida. Both teams in the top 40. Ken Palm. Let's look at some comments coming here. Scotty B, good win. Have to work on the free throws. You're right. You're big time right there. I'm trying to pull up what these final numbers were for the Bears from the line. 7 of 18. Whoosh. Not good. Not good. Jacoby Walter, for as much praise I give him, he did miss 4 free throws. But Jay Dennis missed 2. Josh Ojenwuna was 0 of 2. Jaden Nunn was 0 of 2. Jalen Bridges 2 of 4. Not a good night from the free throw line. And that is going to be a factor when they need to put teams away at the free throw line. I know another thing Fran was saying was that the Big 12 is basically not going to be good this year. He loves the SEC. He doesn't think the Big 12 is great and said it so much that I don't think they're great that it made me think he thinks they're going to be horrible. So whatever. Take that for what you will. Concerned against against good bigs. Missi and Josh looked a little overmatched. I will say I didn't think Josh O had a great night tonight. He looked a lot like Flo Thamba last year tonight. But he did grab some rebounds, so I guess that was different. But he didn't look great defensively. Missed the 2 free throws after missing a dunk. Didn't love that. And Yves Missi was bodied up a couple times in that second half when they brought in that kid from Vancouver who was twice the width of him. That will get better. I will say the only other time we saw them against legitimate bigs, which was against Auburn, both of them, especially Missi, played really well on the defensive end. And Janai Broome for Auburn is going to be one of the best bigs they face all year. But I thought they were pretty good in that one. They also did give up 82 points in that game. But looking at either Pitt or Florida, this is a team that you could, one of these teams, any team that's top 40 in KenPom is absolutely one you could see in the NCAA tournament. And we know Scott Drew set up this cluster of games that he keeps doing with an eye towards the NCAA tournament and how that's set up. 2 games in 3 days. I just put that a lot more eloquently than I did on the Drake Toll show earlier, where it sounded like I was high trying to describe what this meant. 2 games in 3 days. They've gone out the first weekend the last 2 years. Scott wants them to get used to that schedule. And this time they were playing in an NBA arena in both games. So love seeing that, because the most important thing is to schedule well in the non-conference, but especially when you're in a conference like the Big 12 where you're going to get that RPI boost anyway, it's just as important to me for a Big 12 team to work in this kind of schedule and get ready for the NCAA tournament, especially a team that's gone out the first weekend the last 2 years and doesn't win in the conference tournament. So I love that move from Scott Drew and love the other things he does too. Scotty B added again, field goal percentage needs to improve defensively. Okay, let's see what that was. They were making some shots, and that's something that in the last couple games, definitely, Scotty. I thought John Brown had some good shot makers, but overall, that game and the Gardner-Webb game, I thought the teams were shooting great against them. Yeah, they shot 49%, which you would love to see improve. Baylor at 52%. That 49% does come with 7 of the last 8 field goals being made. So they kept them under 30% from 3, which is not something they did all the time last year. They shot 76% from the line. Baylor shot 60% from the line. Yeah, that could use some work. I do think, to the point of our last commenter before that, the best defenders on this team are on the perimeter, and it's not even close. I think Jacoby Walters' length gives them some good perimeter defense, but Jaden Nunn is obviously that dude guarding out there one-on-one. He didn't have a great night himself offensively, but looked pretty good defensively again. Go Habs, go. Oh, go home, man. Get out of here, bro. I cannot stand. Oof. There's a few rivalries I hang on to as I get into my adult years and try to be more mature. I can never like Montreal, man. Ever. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm wearing a Bruins hat. They're having a nice victory that I need to get to in a second over Florida tonight, and coming off a nice 5-2 against Montreal on Saturday. So, Samuel, get this thing together, man. Get Cole Caulfield on the score sheet a little more. That place is a mess right now in the best division in the NHL. All right. That's probably going to wrap things up here on the post game. Thank you guys for joining once again. I'm going to mix in some more basketball when we can for these post game shows. Obviously, I love doing it for football. You guys are really involved, but with the team they've got this season for basketball, we got to mix it in for the hardwood too. Let me know down in the comments what you think the ceiling is for this team. I'm probably going to ask that after every game just to see the ebbs and flows of the season here. And do you think that these could be the 2 best freshmen ever to play for Baylor? Because I think we're heading in that direction. Thank you once again. This is going to be, the next time you listen to it, still Locked on Baylor.